Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. and today I'm reviewing Dungeon Decorators from Slugfest Games. Dungeon Decorators is a tile-laying game for 1 to 4 players, a tile-laying game which you are trying to build out the perfect dungeon. You're going to start with a little tile over here, and you're slowly going to be adding tiles from this tableau. We'll explore more how that goes shortly, but you're going to be adding tiles to your dungeon slowly but surely, trying to add both corridors, both rooms, and decorations to your dungeon. You're going to be going through that process, trying to complete various goal cards, both public goal cards over here, as well as private goal cards that are your own over there, trying to complete all of that in an effort to score as many points as possible before the end of the game. That's basically it. You're building out a dungeon, you're adding tiles, you're trying to score points based on public and personal goals, and that's what you're doing. As far as the game sequence is going to involve tiles being put out into the display over here. You're going to be putting tiles down over here, and then players will go ahead in turn order select the tiles. You actually have the turn order up here, and you're going to go ahead and choose, with blacks and choose which one they want, and they're going to say, you know what, I want this tile. Now, the nice thing is the back of a tile, tiles are double-sided over here, but the back tells you everything you need to know. This is a yellow tile, which you can see from this spot over here, and it has 4 corridors because you can see 4 items. This is going to be a non-color one, which is going to be a corner piece because you can see from those over there, so you can see that over here. So you can see in general, the back shows you what you need to know from the front as well. And black over there, they're trying to figure out what they want. Let's say I'm black over here, and I'm trying to figure out what I need. I want a rumpus room with a mechanical guard over here, which basically means I want a tile with a star in it. None of these have stars next to a room. So I can't do that, unfortunately. I can't do this. I do want some books and tables. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and gather... Yeah, let's go ahead and gather some books and tables. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this, pop it down over here, and I will grab... I thought I saw a book somewhere. Where's my books? Oh, the book is over here. I'll grab the key because I want a key over here. So grab that key, and I'm trying to put that key next to a room. So I will take this tile and place this next to my room, and now I have a room with a key and a book. As soon as I get a torch next to this room, I'll be able to score 10 points for this card. That's basically what you're trying to do. You're trying to be mindful of your personal goals, which when you complete, you will draw new personal goals, and you're trying to accomplish and build out a dungeon as you go. The other players will go ahead and take their tiles, so they'll go ahead and grab and grab and grab, and they take the tiles that they want, and let's put out some more tiles with turn order now being situated as follows. So we're going to reach into the bag over here. We're going to grab out 4 more tiles. Let's grab 4 more tiles out, and we're going to sort them based on their numbers. So over here we have a 21 is probably the lowest. We have a 297, 267, 348, and a 147. You're going to sort them based on the number in the top left corner and see what you got over there. You also might take certain things based on the middle of the tile. So this will let you take a rearrange token over here. You'll have the Goblin Sapper, which takes you to the generic hallway, so you'll be able to grab a generic hallway if you grab that tile. And you're going to go ahead, once again, we'll take some tiles, let's figure it out. We'll grab this one over here, they'll grab this one, they'll go ahead, well, it's not their turn, it's my turn. So now I want a torch, unfortunately. There are no torches I can currently grab. I could grab, nothing's really going to help me here. So I think I'm going to start the process of just trying to develop more rooms, so I can build more rooms over here. Like this tile over here wants to have rooms over here on these spots, so I'll go ahead and grab that. So we'll grab a room tile. Maybe this will be a room as well, and we can go first. So we'll take this one over here, we'll put this down here, and we'll work on getting a room over here for next turn. So again, we take all those tiles, put them away. Let's do one more sample round, showing you again the turn order this player would have gone. Let's say this player goes over here. This spot lets you go ahead and grab 2 tiles from the bag instead, and draw 2 gold cards, rearrange them, and draw a random tile from the bag. So it gives you another option as far as how you manage that. Let's do it one more time, one more round, and then we'll go to the rest of the stuff, the review and all that. So we have 4 more tiles over here. Let's see what we got. We got 234. Let's assume that's there. 342, 288, and 54. So you can see a lot of color in these 2 rooms over here. We also have that torch we wanted, so we could go ahead and complete that goal. So you know what? Let's go ahead and show you what that looks like. I'm going to go ahead and grab that particular goal. I'm going to grab this tile, putting it over here. I now have a room. This specifically has to be a room with a key and a torch. I've now completed this goal. I'm going to go ahead and move my token up 10 points on this track, and then I'll go ahead and draw a new goal to replace it, and I'll take this goal over here, and I need a sword and a torch next to a room. This is actually be very helpful over here. If I later in the game have an opportunity to do a rearrange, I might move this tile away from the room and then put a torch next to the room, which lets me build off the fact that I already have a torch, which can be where some of these tiles come into play. Some other things worth noting over here is whenever you see that token, you're going to get one of these over here. These are little mimic decorations. A mimic decoration lets you turn any green decoration into whatever you want at the instance you play it. So if I have this tile over here, I can say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and cash in my mimic to turn this mimic into a sword, which will allow me to immediately complete this goal, scoring another 10 points and jumping up and grabbing another card. So those mimic decorations can be used mid-game or at the end of the game, which is, speaking of which, the end game. is going to have these two cards over here. You can have different bosses in play from a randomized deck of bosses, and they'll give you specific competitions to go for. So Louis over here, he rewards you 3 points for each red or orange tile in your dungeon. So grabbing red and orange tiles and building out your dungeon will be helpful. Meanwhile, Stacy the Spider Queen will give you 10 points to whoever has the most spider webs, and 4 points to whoever has the second most spider webs as you build out your dungeon. That's basically what's going on over here. A few small other things to really touch upon. First of all, over here, you're going to have your own individual player board. As you grab tiles, you don't need to put them into your dungeon. You could put them onto your player board. You can save up to 2 over here, but that's all you can save. So you have a degree of planning and rearranging as far as that goes. And then lastly, the game comes with 2 bags. You're going to put half tiles into one bag, half tiles into the other bag, along with these 3 endgame tiles. As you draw the third one from this bag, so in the second bag, you can go for the first bag first, which means you automatically have half the tiles in the game. The second bag is as you draw these tiles out, when you draw the third one, that's going to trigger game end. So there's a degree of unknown as far as how that's going to play out. That is basically the game. Last thing to cover is the endgame scoring, which is we have our turn order, our endgame scoring, hang dandy little player over here. But our endgame scoring, you're going to get points for 3 points for every star you have in your dungeon. You're also going to get points for different colors of tiles, and points for the most common color tile that you have, plus the bosses, plus the points you got for your gold cards during the game. And that is how you play Dungeon Decorators. Which brings us to the review, starting off with ease of play. Rulebook very accessible, very easy to dive into. Overall, just very, very simple to explain, to teach, to play. Plays in roughly 45 minutes, can drag out to a bit to an hour, especially if you're playing with younger children, but around that range. As far as what I like, don't like, and can see others not liking, this is an accessible tile laying score optimization game. The general idea of the game is that you're trying to build out your dungeon and trying to score for those personal goals. You'll get a bunch of things, a bunch of scoring aspects to manage. You're trying to go for having a whole bunch of green can help you get a bunch of points for having a lot of green in your dungeon, or any color. But having different colors will also reward you. But going for your goals will reward you. Going for the bosses, I find the bosses are often the least satisfying as far as what to go for, but they will be extra points to manage and navigate around. And you're trying to draft these tiles, take into account, do you want to go for early or next turn? Which tile will help you the most? How do you build out a dungeon that is not just helpful for right now, but also helpful with the fact that as you build things out, you're trying to manage both the goals here, and you're going to be drawing more tiles. Do you want more shape goals? Do you want more decoration goals? What do you think you're most likely to be able to achieve based on a random draw from the deck? And the random draw from the deck aspect is key because you don't know what's coming. So you're planning around a degree of what you know, and a degree of just hopefully having a dungeon that is flexible to the accommodating needs and adjustments of the future. That's where those mimic tiles will help you, because mimic decorations can be more variable, more flexible, but also the rearranging tiles, those will help you. Those tokens for rearranging, that lets you rearrange your dungeon in certain ways, which helps you recover from badly placed tiles or adjust to newly drawn goals. And so all of this is basically a point optimization engine. There's enough decisions placed in here as far as how you try to manage your points and which tiles are right for you, and that's basically it. That's it. It's a tile laying game with point optimization, with a degree of different things to go for, and that's the general aspect of what I like here. As far as what I don't like, the biggest thing really, I don't know if it's the biggest thing, but one of the things over here, I'm not a fan of the art or the aesthetic at all. This whole aspect of these tiles, the way they're decorated, they feel very abstract. And I get it, because at the end of the day, you're trying to build out the art on these tiles based on them being any possible decoration, but I feel the iconography is so abstract that I never really feel like I'm actually decorating a dungeon. I feel like I'm placing a bunch of messy symbols into a dungeon, because it does come across as messy symbols. The fact that I have this torch here and these ambient decorations here that may or may not ever become relevant as my dungeon wraps around in different ways. Generally, the art of the tiles, it's fine, it's very plain, but at least it looks like a dungeon. These decorations never to me drive home the idea that it's a dungeon, and so I find myself very disconnected from anything other than the point optimization. I feel like it's a very cutesy theme that could have had better art that would have made me feel more invested in what I'm doing. As it is, I feel like I'm just trying to put the stack of books against the wall without ever feeling like I'm actually making things look better. And then also there's a lot of luck in the goal card draw. When you're drawing new goals, as you plan around the goals you have, and as you plan around all the things that you know, which you start off with a lot of knowledge, that works great. But as you start drawing new goals, that's where it very much falls into one of those ticket to ride kind of things, where someone can draw a route that they've perfectly completed, and another person has to struggle very hard to get anywhere close. This game has that aspect. Sometimes you draw a new goal, and it's like, let's look at, like, for instance, when you saw this over here doing the teach, when I drew these 2 gold cards, I drew this one, and then I draw a replacement one, I'm already halfway there. A small rearrangement, a small adjustment, and boom, I get 10 points, and that's easy. Versus I could have drawn this gold card, and maybe my setup is just not primed for this. Maybe I need a hallway that I can put 3 different things on. That's going to be tough. Like, I mean, the hallway counts the entire dungeon, which is nice, but I don't have any of those over here. I have this one over here. Maybe I could try to rearrange it. The difference in gold cards you have and the achievability of it, especially with these shape goals, the shape goals in particular, you have to build your dungeon a certain way, and it can just be very hard to do so. So the luck of the goal card draw is definitely a factor as far as, yeah, you'll plan tactically, but what you draw to replace the things you finish, that's where you're going to find yourself either hit with good luck or bad luck as the game goes. As far as I can see others not liking, it can be hard to see the board at a glance. The very nature of having, again, the abstract art and everything else does mean it's very hard to just kind of see everything at a glance because you have tons of icons and information on the tiles you've drawn that aren't even relevant anymore. And again, they could be relevant. You could wrap around your dungeon in a certain way, so you still need it there. But for the most part, this tile is now over here, and the only thing I currently care, unless I make some drastic changes to this dungeon, the only thing I really care about is that torch, and we just have still a ton of information just cluttered around the board that can get in the way as far as just the visual aspect, especially as your dungeon gets larger and larger. And then secondly, it is a lighter game. Yes, there are crunchy decisions as far as what thing you're trying to optimize around, but usually because of the fact that you're only picking from 4 tiles, and half the time you're not even picking from 4 tiles because 3 people went before you, it does mean that there's a little bit less agency than you might like. You're trying to navigate, you're trying to manage, there are decisions to be made, but it's not a very crunchy game. It is a lighter tile laying game with enough decision space to be interesting, but also not enough decisions at most times to be that interesting. As far as final thoughts on Dungeon Decorators, I overall like Dungeon Decorators, but I also feel I would like it a lot more if I felt more visually drawn in by this one. The closest comparison is going to be a game like Carcassonne. When you're playing a game like Carcassonne, it could be meaty and tight and all those things, but it also could be a game that is just simple and fun to lay down tiles, but I also feel like I'm building out this giant landmass that looks so much fun to just build, to the point that people will sometimes just build Carcassonne-style landmasses when they're just for the fun of having something on the table that looks cool. I don't have that aspect with Dungeon Decorators. Dungeon Decorators doesn't look cool. It gives you a decision space. It does give you decisions, it does give you a game, but the tile laying aspect, I feel like half the enjoyment of tile laying is the sense of building something, and I don't have that with this game. For me, this is a 3 out of 5. There are interesting decisions, it's not a bad game, there are crunchy aspects to it, but it doesn't overly inspire a lot. I think the thing I enjoy the most is that goal aspect, the goal cycling in and out and trying to get more goals and trying to just like see if you can just get a ton of goals as you go through it. It has a rewarding aspect to it by being able to build a dungeon that is flexible to drawing multiple goal cards as much as you can. There are good moments in this game for sure, and there are fun decisions. I wish it looked nicer, but felt more compelling to actually build things out, and possibly had a drop more decision space in it, although I'd be fine if there wasn't. Because again, every game has a target audience, every game has a degree of who they're targeting as far as the lightness, the accessibility, and all that, and overall this is a decent game. I just wish it looked better. As far as game recommendations, I'm going to have 2. First of all, if you like the general sense of trying to manage multiple goals and trying to build things in ways they all fit together, but you want to level it up a notch, The Castle of Mad King Ludwig from Bezier Games is a fantastic game of trying to manage all these things with a much more inspired castle building element and also visually more intriguing. And then secondly, I mentioned already, but Carcassonne. If you're looking for a tile laying game that constantly delivers fun moments, it's accessible while also giving you solid decision space, and with a gorgeous map and board that will slowly expand as you play through it, Carcassonne is always a tile laying game that I can recommend. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. Hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.